Hello everyone and welcome to the newest installment of our Orizon campaign. I am your wonderful host and DM, Doma, at the Nerdy Aries on Twitter, and I am joined by several lovely people. And we will introduce themselves going down the line. For those people who are joining us for the first time, we welcome you, and this is our cast, playing the eccentric gnome Grafford, my close friend, my beloved ally, the heart of my cards. The Gentleman Yosh.
Wheeler.
The Gentleman Yosh.
Hello.
Also at the Gentleman Yosh without the E in gentle on Twitter. Up next, playing the recently added Azmar Piton, a Blue Flan, also at the Blue Flan on Twitter.
Hi.
Playing the intimidatingly powerful lizard folk Yizit, going by several names, Dead Alex among the office, and I think it's at Matoid Mortician on Twitter. Correct me if I'm wrong.
At Matoid Morty.
At Matoid Morty. So yes, he's also here. And last, but certainly not least, the beloved Delta playing the Azmar Raldia Silverleaf. At Delta Diagoras _between on Twitter.
You already know who it is.
So, we're going to be getting into a couple of announcements before we go into it, and I'm happy to make these announcements as we have some very important and special events coming up. First of all, on the 20th of this very month of April, that is a Friday, we're going to be having a very special one-shot with some very special people. The DM of the Fern Gaming podcast, if you know them, there are some really cool dudes who put on a really nice D&D podcast. Their DM, Liam, will be joining us as a player in a campaign, not a campaign, a one-shot that I will be DMing, and a few other members of another podcast that you might be familiar with, the Spellcast podcast, at the Spellcast on Twitter. They'll be sending over a couple of players to be partaking in this one shot as well. And I think there's just one more announcement, which would be that we are going to be having our first special guest in canon on Draenora. The very day after that, after the one shot with the other special guests from other podcasts, we will be having the DM of the D&D Bags podcast, at the D&D Bags on Twitter. Joe will be joining us as a special guest, taking a very special role and playing a character for that day. Remember, these days are on the 20th and the 21st, which are on Friday and Saturday, respectively. And actually, no, we do have one more announcement, but I'll go ahead and let Delta say this one about what's happening this Saturday in place of the Draenora time slot.
Okay. Well, I am DMing, or my first campaign, I guess, but it is going to just be a little taste of a campaign to come. You know, it won't be a regular thing until a little while later, but I'm hoping to give everyone a good taste of it.
Yay.
So, to kind of put it into some different words, Delta is going to be stepping into my seat to DM the first episode of a campaign that will be coming out later in the year. It's just a little bit of a taste. You know how movies kind of have those teaser trailers to get you excited about something new? Well, it's going to be a session DM'd by him in the Saturday time slot, starting at the newly announced 5:30 CST, as we have changed our time, which I'm pretty sure was announced last week. Which the players for that have been confirmed as myself being a player, Yosh joining us as a player for a third position on our campaigns, and Lovish or Alex from the Draenora campaign will also be taking part in that episode. So if you're excited for that, be sure to stop by on Saturday at 5:30 CST in the afternoon right here on this channel, and you'll be able to get a little bit of taste of that. Of course, each of these episodes are going to be posted on YouTube afterwards. In the weeks to come, we're a little bit behind in our uploads, but we'll be back to our normal schedule with the most recent up-to-date videos very soon. Just another quick announcement, a little heads up for those of you who might not be as familiar with how we're currently doing our new kind of setup for filming the show. We film it now in 2 parts. Sometime during this week, actually, I can tell you exactly when. On Friday and on Sunday, I will be releasing the 8th episodes, I believe, of Draenora and Orizon, where it shows that we are recording our show in 2 halves. The part 1 being from the beginning of the session all the way up to the first part of the break, and then at the end of the break will become the first part, the start of part 2 of that episode. They'll both be uploaded on the same day at the same time. Just makes things a little bit simpler and kind of condenses the episode into smaller bites that are a little easier to digest. And with that, I think we are done with our announcements.
Yeah, seems so.
Yeah. So, with that, I believe it is time for Last Time on Orizon D&D. Our heroes. After forming their new team and be given the paperwork and all the things technically required and legally required in many aspects of that, headed towards their new quarters in District 7, Quadrant 2, to their housing unit that they had been assigned. Upon arriving to their quarters and searching the rooms, the party, most specifically Raldir, found Piton, the last member of their team that had not been revealed to them. Instead, told that the last member of their team was going to be picked by the Director of Armed Forces, Zol, the Tiefling. Meanwhile, Yizit broke off from the rest of the group as they continued to do their establishing meetings and greetings with each other and taking care of the necessary paperwork as it was needed to be done by Grafford, decided to split from the group in search of some new armaments for himself and decided to head back over to the 4th docking port, most specifically where they had last seen the Director of Supply and Transportation, Naumal Tirsit, and through a series of rather intimidating set of circumstances, made multiple threats on his life. The metallic humanoids, as soon as these sort of threats were made and physical sort of harm came to Tirsit, were immediately animated, more so than they were before, and then proceeded to engage the lizard folk. After essentially being charmed via the use of magic produced by Naumal Tirsit, Yizit went back to the housing district, to their specific housing unit, whereupon he followed Grafford to report back to the station of departure and arrival. Upon seeing Zol in his normal post, as he usually is at the station of departure and arrival, Yizit then, I guess you could say, rather aggressively pushed his same agenda of trying to find armaments for himself and ended up becoming blinded due to a disease that was inflicted upon him by Zol after some of the situation seemingly got out of hand. Afterward, Grafford, seeking the aid from the Department of Natural Studies and Applications, wandered upon the Sky Gardens, where, seemingly, a figure with steam white hair tried to shout from across the Sky Gardens, being deafened by the roaring winds around, to warn them of the imposing danger. And that danger happened to be wood-like humanoids with strange magical armaments, most specifically bows, and combat had ensued. After a series of magical transportation via the use of the trees, this sort of white-haired figure ceased the combat, and that's exactly where we're going to pick up. So, Grafford and Yizit. Currently, Grafford, you are being held by Yizit sort of close to his body, and Grafford, you were trying to get through to Yizit that the combat is over. As he is not able to see his foe, he is still skeptical. Also, your sword is stuck in the tree.
Crap.
Is it? Go ahead and put me down. And stay put. I need to go talk to this man.
Several injuries are still in you, arrows sticking out of you from the combat before, out of both of you, really.
All right, I'm gonna put him down and just kind of turn my attention to getting my sword out of the tree.
So you begin to feel around and try and reach for the sword. You kind of feel the tree and kind of brush your fingers against it until you feel the steel, or the metal rather, of your blade. Go ahead and make an athletics check to yank it out. Meanwhile, you're walking back across the bridge, correct?
20.
Yeah, I'm gonna be limping back to the bridge towards this figure.
Okay. So you wrench the sword free from the tree, and it makes the wood creak a little bit. And it's a little difficult at first. You can't see why, but you, Grafford, can see exactly why. He had cut almost halfway into the tree with his brutal swing, and yanks it out. So it's returned back to your grasp. You're still holding firmly onto it, and Grafford is walking away from you.
Well, he told me to stay here.
So you begin to make your way down the bridge, and the other figure begins to make their way down his bridge, kind of at the arced slope as it is going back down into this main center island that is relatively empty, save for a few sprouting bits of wildflower here and there from the grass and the large tree that's sort of slightly off center.
Okay. Well, as soon as we get close enough, I'll go ahead and I'll direct him back to Yizit and say, my friend over there, he seems to be needing a little more help than I do at this moment. If you could look after him.
The winds are still roaring.
I'm kind of really hurt.
Yep. So, you try and like speak up, but the winds kind of just deafen you out, and this figure, make a history check for me really quick.
21.
This is the same person who was there during that sort of regulation test of power, who had previously healed Yizit and Raldir. He was there. And you recognize him as the director of natural studies and applications. But you can't quite hear him. You know that he speaks rather softly for the most part, and these roaring winds, both of you, it's just lips moving and neither of you hearing each other.
I'm gonna point at my ear and kind of just, like, I can't say no. Not say no, like motion, like a shrug.
He's gonna raise an arm and kind of point out towards the lizard folk Yizit. What are you doing, by the way? Are you just standing there? He's pointing at Yizit.
Yeah, kind of running a hand down the sword to make sure there's no nicks or anything in it.
Okay. It feels a little blunt in a couple of places. Slightly blunted, not as much, but it's been damaged.
When he points to Yizit, I'm gonna point at my eye and then cover them completely. like with both hands.
Okay. He gives you a puzzled look. And you can tell he doesn't quite understand what you're trying to get across.
I'm gonna hold my finger out like 1 moment.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell him to like come closer. Like to my level.
So you're just gonna try and motion towards yourself?
Yeah. He has no idea, does he?
He comes closer, but he stays standing, like at the height that he is. He's about like 5'6".
I'm gonna go ahead and yell out. The winds are still roaring, correct?
Yeah, they're just fierce winds.
I'm gonna go ahead and yell out. He's been afflicted by the contagion spell. He's blind.
What?
He's blind.
What?
My friend over there is blind.
Your friend is very kind?
No, he's blind.
What did he sign?
No, he's blind.
He drew a line?
I'm gonna kind of just sigh, and I'm gonna motion him to come over to use it, and I'm gonna go ahead and walk, semi-limp over there to where Yizid is, because he's over near this tree, I believe.
Well, he's kind of just standing there really next to it after. You can see him running his fingers along the side of the blade. You can see that it's somewhat damaged. It's dented in a couple of places and even chipped, where the metal is completely missing. Not so much that it's kind of lost its entire edge, but it's been worn down somewhat, and kind of just bringing the fingers over the edge. And usually you'd see someone who's handling that sort of weapon, they would have this sort of delicateness to not cut themselves, but he's just doesn't give a fuck.
Okay.
So you make your way over there, and you see that the figure is still where they were.
Oh, I thought I had said that I motioned to
Well,
come
yeah.
with me.
They're still where they are.
No, I'm gonna do it again. Like with both hands, like, come on. Good lord.
That one was a natural one.
Jesus Christ.
Holds his ground. Just make a general charisma check for me really quick.
Okay. Let's see if he understands this. Oh, 20.
Soft 20. Okay, so you're just like using your whole body, just like, like with
Come over
like
here.
huge arcing motions towards yourself with your arms. Make a perception check for me.
Okay. That is a 14.
Okay, good enough.
He's dead.
So he begins to make his way over, but you got like this island is rather small because the tree takes up a majority of it. So you're kind of taking up most of the space, and he can't make his way up.
Oh, can I move around? I'm rather small.
Yeah, you are rather small, so you can kind of move out of the way.
Yeah, can I like get out of his way? Yeah. Where is Yizit positioned, may I ask?
He's standing exactly where he was. To the left of the tree, kind of just standing there. Unless you'd rather not be standing there, it's entirely up to you.
I'm fine where I'm at.
Okay. So
'Cause-
after you've cleared some of the space, it's still pretty tight. Like you can
Mhm.
tell that it's not meant for a lot of people to be up here, but because of your small size, you're able to kind of still find a place where you can stand on stable ground. Um,
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and point at my eye and point at Yizit.
so he's gonna walk up and he's gonna like put a hand on the tree to kind of like balance himself, and because the winds are still really strong. Um, and he's gonna look over in your direction with another confused look, and he's gonna shake his head for a second, and then you're gonna see this sort of greenish light begin to emanate from his hands, as the sort of symbol on his forehead that matches the one that was on the door, um, kind of glows with the same green radiance, and he's touching the tree, and you begin to see the tree kind of spread out wide as if it's growing in its diameter. And it is kind of arching out, but you can see this sort of tree is twisted into this sort of spiral, just as the nature of the kind of tree it is. And sort of between the spiraling folds, a hole begins to widen larger and larger and larger until you can see into the hole, and you see a small office space, a desk with a chair on the other side, very very minimal. It's not very fancy. There's several scattered books everywhere. It's honestly a bit of a mess, and just behind it you see sort of this glass window where you can see the sky gardens and you can see yourself kind of in the distance.
Okay.
And he begins to like make a waving motion towards the entrance that has been formed in this tree.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tap Yizit's like leg. And I'm gonna shout because it's still super windy. Don't worry, it's just me.
Can I hear him?
Vaguely, because if you recall, I said since you're blind, like your hearing is a little more sensitive, and the winds are really, really loud. What you can sense more is the kind of tapping on your leg.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna try to hit him.
Yeah, it's more like you can hear him like a faint whisper that's just being drowned out by this roaring wind.
Okay. I'll kind of turn toward the tapping.
That's right. Now go as I direct you. And I'm gonna try to direct him inside.
Okay.
So he's kind of like pushing you in a specific direction, kind of like pushing the back of your leg.
I'm just gonna go with it.
So you walk what feels like face first into the tree for a moment because of your large size. It wasn't really all the way done growing because it needed to compensate for the just overwhelming stature of Yizit. So you kind of bump the top of your head a little bit against the tree, and you feel like you're about to make contact with it, but you kind of fall. So you put your hands up, but you fall through, and you're trying to use your hands to figure out where you are. You kind of feel around, and you feel the wood to the left and right of you, but you reach out forward, and there's nothing. Can't feel anything.
Is he still pushing me?
Are you still pushing him? He's about halfway through.
Yes, I'm still pushing him.
I'm just gonna keep going.
So you walk all the way through, and you're keeping your arms out, and you continue to walk forward, or do you stop when you can't feel his touch anymore?
I think I'd go ahead and stop.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as he gets like a decent way into the room, I'm just gonna stop tapping or pushing.
Okay, but are you gonna follow him in so he goes all the way in?
Yeah.
So you go all the way in, and you keep pushing him, but this space is rather small. So you put your hands out, and you're able to feel a solid surface, a flat, solid surface in front of you. Is it? And you hear what sounds like the winds have stopped, by the way. And all you hear is the sounds of cracking wood that is very, very loud. And Grafford, you turn around, and everybody has cleared through this sort of entranceway, and you see this kind of tree that the top of it isn't inside of this room. It seems to go into the corner of the roof and go outward, like from the glass walled window. You can see some of the branches kind of hanging out to the side. And you piece together that the tree kind of goes outwards, and it's just wide enough for this sort of transportation to happen. And walking along the right side of the room that the tree is kind of going out of, you see the white-haired figure, the director, kind of walk towards this sort of pieced together desk that was nothing in the room matches. It's a complete mess. So what did he need to sign?
It was nothing like that. Thank you, Darren.
Well, I'm a very, very busy man, so
Yes, I'll get to the point. He was afflicted by a contagion spell. He's gone blind. At least that's what he said. He couldn't see.
what are you doing, is it?
Kind of sniffing around, see if there's any interesting smells.
Make a perception check.
18.
It smells overwhelmingly of wood. It smells as if you were standing in a forest in this room.
That's oddly comforting. But I can hear them talking, so I'm just going to keep my maw shut.
All right. So as soon as you start to say that he was afflicted by the contagion spell, he's like, "Ah, yes, the blinding sickness disease. It won't be too difficult to remove, though. Who casted this on him?"
Zol said something about training, muzzling. Ugh.
Do you honestly not remember the words, or are you trying to phrase it in a way?
I'm trying to phrase it in a way like my character would say it.
Okay, because you're not telling like the whole truth because you know what he said. So just make a general charisma check. Because I can't really decide whether to make a persuasion, deception, or a performance.
Natural 20.
Would natural 20 just shut me up in the middle of my sentence. So Grafford, is this a lizard folk member of your team?
Yes. Zol, put him in my group.
He's gonna start to flip through like just the scattered papers that are all over his desk, kind of just throwing some of them off to the side, just wiping them clean off, until he finds like this sealed envelope that the seal has already been broken, and he kind of opens it up and pulls out a piece of parchment. Well, it says here that the lizard folk assigned to dispatch team Desdetariat?
That's Desdetariat.
Ah, there's it. Right.
Yes, that one.
He is not to be treated as a member of the Beholden Reserve, it would seem.
Why is that?
He's not a member.
Not at all.
Not at all. Therefore, he is not eligible to receive any sort of benefits that come with the membership.
Hmm. Then why would Zol assign him to my team?
His name has been put here by you. This is your handwriting.
Yes, Zol told me that he would be in our group.
I am afraid that I cannot cure his blindness without clearance to do so.
Well,
I
thank you
cannot,
for your time.
I cannot override the decisions of a fellow director.
I understand. I'll go ahead and take my leave, and before I walk out into that very loud wind, I'll go ahead and say,
You in the room, or you're in a room, like
yeah.
you turn back at the tree and it's just a normal tree. There's no entryway.
Oh,
And then
I
you look
forgot
a little
there
bit
was
to the right of that, there's a door.
oh, wait. So there's a door to walk out of?
Yes, there's a door on the opposite side of the desk. As if you opened in, the first thing you'd see was the desk. It's behind you.
Okay. Well, there is one thing I could ask. Could you please at least patch him up? Those wooden archers, they did quite a number on him.
I tried to warn you from across the way to not enter into the Sky Gardens without permissible clearance, otherwise you would activate the Sylvan defenses. You should just be glad the big one didn't wake up.
The big one?
Like as he's talking, he's like motioning to the window, the like wall window behind him, and he's pointing at the big tree that's kind of in the center island, and it kind of begins to move. You see the ground being uprooted by these giant roots, and you see coming from underneath two other tree trunks that are connected by some form of roots that are all tied together, as a face kind of hoists itself from the ground, and you see a large treant kind of pulling itself up and then moving off to the side, and kind of righting itself, and then going back into the ground a little more in the center of the island.
I'm gonna kind of like just gulp. Well, I'm quite glad that that thing that we didn't encounter that. I do apologize, though. I couldn't hear you over the blasting winds.
You are able to be treated at the appropriate facilities, but I'm afraid that your friend here is not eligible to receive any kind of aid from us. It is not in our hands.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be taking our leave.
Do close the door on your way out.
That can be done.
You also, as you were looking out, you see papers being flung off into the wind that were then you kind of figure that some of the papers that were kind of just loosely scattered around got sucked out of the wind once the entrance was made in the tree, and then got sent flying.
I'm gonna go ahead and tap on Yizit.
Okay.
Is it? Go ahead and put me back on. We've got to navigate our way back.
All right, go ahead and plop him on my shoulder.
You kind of put your hands on either side of his head to try and turn him. And I'm gonna say you guys have done this a little bit. You open the door first before you get on, just so you didn't have to navigate that nightmare. And then you make your way through. You look at the. By the way, as you look at the door, it's not really even a door per se. It looks like the side of a tree, just in the shape of a door. And as you open it up, and then it lifts you onto his shoulders, and you walk towards it, you're like, oh man, it is way too big for this door, and you're like adding more height. And as you're trying to like push his head down a little bit to try and get him to duck, the sort of bark-like exterior of this door kind of grows upwards to compensate for the size.
I'm gonna say thank you.
Oh, are you gonna turn back?
Yeah.
As you're turning back, you see him halfway out of the tree with the winds roaring in, kind of sucking in papers just from the force and getting flung out as it kind of closes up behind, and you, in the distance, you think you can see Daren somewhere over there in the Sky Gardens. You already left.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I guess I'll direct him out, and we'll walk back to the what was it? To District 7, Quadrant 2.
You're gonna go back to your housing unit?
Yes.
Okay. So, meanwhile, what have Raldir and Patan been doing as you two are alone in the housing unit?
Well,
I have been reading.
you know what? I'm gonna go to that place with all the books.
Okay.
Wait, would I be there as well since I was reading?
Well, I said you guys were in the housing unit. You probably have your own belongings in your room, Patan. But currently, where we had left off, Raldir, you were taking a nap, and Patan, you were in the common area.
Okay. Then I'm just gonna peek my head out of my room and watch as he leaves.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just no, or hold on. And I'll just say, hey, can I drink or look, can I join you?
Sure. Go right ahead. I guess I'm not stopping you.
I'm just gonna follow.
So, the first thing you guys realize as you're walking out is that you don't have a key to lock the place.
Ooh.
As you leave. So you walk out, and that thought kind of enters your mind, and you turn to look back at the door, and you see this sort of purplish image appear over the handle for a moment, and then the knob disappears, and as you like reach towards it, the knob reappears.
Whoa!
Magic.
Cool.
This is interesting.
I'm gonna look kind of where the doorknob was and just go, cool.
So then the both of you begin to make your way towards the libraries of Athenium, which you would know the name of Patan, but you, Raldir, you would not. So you walk for about an hour or so, about an hour and a half with how the traffic is of people just going through in the mass that they usually do. Who's leading the way?
I'll let her lead the way, because I'm sure she probably knows this place better than me.
You gotta have that conversation in game.
Sure do.
Remember, we talked about that.
I'm gonna motion kind of forward, like a sweeping motion with both my hands, and I'm gonna say, Well, if you're coming along, then you go ahead first, because you definitely know more about this place than I do.
Alrighty. And I'm gonna take the light.
He hasn't told you where he wants to go.
I'm
Uh,
gonna stop for a second and turn back to him. Why do you even want to go?
Okay, so I did see the big place with the books before, yeah.
Yeah, you had to
Yeah.
walk through there to get to the station of departure and arrival.
So I'm gonna make like a big hand motion because I'm a big hand talker. That's just how I speak. Gonna just make a big like sweeping motion with my hands. That big place with all the books, the high shelves.
The libraries of Athenia?
Yes.
Alrighty then. I'm gonna lead him there.
So with that, you can assume that he's going to go to try and get some kind of book or something, and you already know how this sort of thing goes down. So you take him to this sort of hole in the wall that's kind of just this rectangular hole in the wall with this sort of desk and a person standing behind it. This sort of let's see what this person is.
Gnome.
Yep.
It's a tiefling.
It's a human.
Oh.
So this hold on. I didn't roll my gender die. This human woman.
Oh.
She's somewhere in her mid 40s. With
I
long
know this one.
long brown hair. Make a history check. With this kind of long brown hair. She's wearing the same sort of robes that each of the members of the people that walk by is the sort of bluish robe with some like white outlines and kind of detailing in different places. What was the total on that?
11.
You do know who this person is. You know her by first name only though. Kind of just an acquaintance. You would know that her name is Linda. And she's just one of the many members of the part of the section of the Beholder Reserve that kind of deals with the sort of just acquisition of the different pieces of knowledge that are available to the members of the reserve. There's currently about 3 or 4 people that are all kind of lined up. You know how like a bank has like all those windows?
With the tellers.
Yeah, with the tellers. There are 4 of them there, but 3 of them are empty. And there's just the one person who is Linda who is there right now. And there's like 4 people in line.
Okay.
So as you guys kind of go and wait in the line, the first thing that you recognize is that it's very loud. Not really for the sound. There's the loud roar of the people that are just making their way through, but there's also the sounds of wheels being rolled, wood kind of scraping against wood, and the overwhelming loud sound of pages just being moved by the wind. As you kind of look up and around, make a perception check, both of you.
Okay. Oof, 6.
8.
It's a little difficult to take in all at once, since there's so many things happening at the same time. But some of the most notable things is that there are books and scrolls and cases of just parchment that are flying all around in the air. Think like that that one scene from Harry Potter where there's just the books flying around everywhere, and most of them are flying towards different shelves, but a few of them are flying in your direction, and kind of into these sort of slots that are above the above like the sort of teller style window type thing. And you see kind of Linda putting an arm up and grabbing some of the things and stacking them. It's kind of hard to see her and what she's doing just because of the people in front of you, but slowly, maybe about 10 or 15 minutes pass, and then the other 4 people in front of you are already with their things and they're gone. You see them carrying like these several multicolored books of different sizes, and a couple of them even carrying like these long kind of rolls of parchment that are bound with like this seal, and some twine or like ribbon that seems to be decorative as you make your way to the front. Which one of you guys was standing in front?
She was, because I said she should lead the way.
Okay, so Piton, you walk up to the sort of kind of just glass-ish window, and you see Linda standing there. Hi, how can I help you?
It's my buddy here would like some books, I believe.
All right, well, as is regulation, she slides a paper forward, and it has sort of this little piece of parchment that you need to fill out. You're used to this, and you're kind of like looking over the shoulder, and you know you're not supposed to be the one to fill this out. He needs to, but he doesn't know what's going on.
Well, do you fill this out?
I guess I will take it from her, and I guess I'll see what I gotta do.
So there's implements to write with, like on the other side, like your side of the glass window. There's like a quill and several different colored inks in different bottles, with the quill sticking out of each of them. And what you see on it is sort of, it says knowledge level, with the sort of space next to it, member name, and then a kind of space for you to sign at the bottom.
No. Cool. Well, I'm going to look up to the lady, the teller, Linda, and I'm going to ask. So, I'm kind of new to this. What's this whole knowledge level thing?
Well, it would seem that since you're new to this information, that you have very low clearance. So that would put you at knowledge level 1. And the sort of pieces and works that we have in our library is sorted into different levels of access that are reflected by your rank within the Beholded Reserve. And unfortunately, you are at the lowest ring since you are new.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess I'm just gonna fill out the paper with writing knowledge level 1.
So as you write knowledge level 1, you write your name. This sort of almost think like a business card level of size extends into like a full 8x10. Kind of just growing more parts of the parchment as it kind of looks like it's unfurling almost from an unseeable origin point. And it has multiple things, like lots of different categories and lists of things that are available to you. A couple of things that you spot out are like spell scrolls, kind of historical stuff. It is sorted into 2 departments at the very top, which is magical studies and natural studies.
Okay.
So what are you looking for?
Well, okay, so the whole natural studies thing.
The natural studies has a lot of things, which is almost as much as the magical studies. But in the natural studies, you can see things, you're kind of reading over this. It's a very, very condensed 8x10. There's a lot of information on it. And it's got everything from knowing certain things about certain creatures to even historical document requests, and all sorts of pieces, what's the word I'm looking for? It has a lot of things, whereas a lot of different things. Whereas the magical one is like spell scrolls, which then is divided into the different types of magic: conjuration, abjuration, transmutation. So what are you looking for?
Out of everything, just kind of scanning over it, I'd like to look for a section that is about this is gonna sound really silly. Tabletop games. Like
Okay,
like
so that
games
would
in
be
general.
under natural studies. So you're kind of looking around and you see recreational, kind of recreational purposes, which is the only kind of thing. So you kind of make a mark just in sort of the blank space with like a check or something, and then the words begin to move to the top left underneath the information that you've already written as the rest of it disappears and a new list forms underneath it.
Ooh, yo, this is cool. I like this. The library has never been cooler.
Thank you.
So, what is the new list looking like?
So the new list has all sorts of things. It has like pieces of fiction, historical things, just like recreational books. But as you begin to look further and further down, you do see a couple of things pertaining to certain recreational games. You see things like kind of games that are played with dice. Some of them include like alley toss, kind of Cat's Gamble, and even some card games like Five Dragon Ante, and a few other things like Dragon Chess.
Yeah.
Kind of just all sorts of different games, sort of near the bottom, past all of the books about like these sort of novels that have these series of pieces of fiction, and then the nonfiction, which are historical documents essentially. Though not really serious ones, but kind of just fun facts kind of books type deal.
Oh, nice. Well, I think we all know what I'm gonna do here. I'm going to check off Dragon Chess.
So the Dragon Chess moves up, and there's only two things that appear on this list. One that says Dragon Chess by Le Tri Motion.
Do I know that name?
Do you speak Elvish?
Well, I mean, I was around elves my
I think you
entire
do
life.
speak Elvish.
Yeah.
And that's how it's said there. And you make a history check to see if you recognize the name. You recognize that it's Elvish immediately.
Okay. That is a 8.
Okay. The name and pertaining to Dragon Chess, it's somewhat familiar, but you can't remember specifically who he is. And then the other one seems to be a kind of player's guide, the second option.
I'm going to lean into this one, almost like also I'm guessing Patan is kind of like behind me now. I'm guessing because I'm filling this out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna almost like covering the paper a little bit just so she doesn't see what I'm trying to get. And I'm gonna lean in and just say, can I check out more than one book at a time, or?
Unfortunately, due to your clearance level of being a member, you can't get too many. It would be 3 tomes and 1 scroll at a time.
Okay. Well, I think that would be fine. Okay. I am going to.
Are you gonna try and see what he's filling out, by the way? Because if you want to, you can try and see what he's writing.
Go ahead.
Are you trying?
Yes.
Okay, make an investigation check, and you make a sleight of hand check.
Okay. Is she gonna roll against mine?
Yeah.
Come on, sleight of hand. Ooh, 12.
Dang, that's a shame.
So you see that he navigates to the dragon chess section, and you're getting both of them.
Yes, I am gonna check off both.
Yeah, so you're kind of looking, and you see that he's trying to hide it, but he's not doing too great of a job since the quill is like really large. Just out of curiosity, what color ink did you choose?
What colors were there?
Rainbow colors, all those.
All the rainbow colors, eh?
Yeah.
I'll choose green.
Okay, just a little. So the large it's the green quill is made from a peacock feather, and it's really large, so he's having trouble trying to hide it while also writing. So you can just lean over and you can see that he's taking copies of 2 of the only dragon chess sort of things that are available. So as soon as you mark off both of them, the sort of long paper kind of changes back into about a business card, like a 2x3 or something, and then you slide it back over, and Linda takes it into her hand, and then kind of opens this sort of drawer from behind, drops it in, closes it, and then puts a hand up, and then puts it back down.
So I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna kind of almost scan the room a little bit, just because I saw books flying our direction before, and I don't want to get pegged in the head.
Well, you saw them going into the sort of kind of holes above the teller window, which is about 10 or 11 feet off the ground.
Okay, then never mind. I think I'll feel pretty safe then. Never mind. It pegs you in the head.
Are you getting anything, Piton?
Why, yes, I am.
And can I help you?
Why, yes.
I'll move out of the way too.
So she slides you another kind of starter parchment. And what are you looking for? I kind of don't want to describe things I already described again for the sake of brevity.
I'm looking for a book on familiars.
Oh, are you specifically looking for the spell scroll of Summon Familiar, or are you looking for just a book in general about the different familiars?
Book in general about it.
Okay, so you navigate over to the Magical Studies and Applications section, and then you go over to the Conjuration tab, I believe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure I have.
I'm pretty sure it's the Conjuration section. It is. So you go over to the Conjuration section, and you do find the Find Familiar spell as a spell scroll, and then there's right underneath it the documented familiars of magical users, and in history. That's the title. The documented familiars of magical users in history. So you check off that one?
Yes.
Okay, so you begin to mark it off, and then the list does the different things. And it opens, it kind of goes in, and then she puts a hand up and puts it back down.
Okay.
Say again?
Okay.
So she puts a hand up, and then both of you are kind of standing there. But as you're filling it out, you see, Raldir, see 2 relatively small books kind of fly one by one into the slits, and then kind of land with a thud somewhere behind the unexposed part of the teller window.
Okay. I suppose I'll just gonna wait because it's an unexposed part, so I'm guessing I'll get it eventually.
So she looks over to the side, off to the right, since she's on the far left of the teller windows, and grabs these two books and written in kind of bright letters. It's a green and a yellow book. She kind of slides them over and says, opening the drawer and picking up the parchment that you had written on, kind of looks at the both of them to kind of cross-reference them and says, I believe these were the books that you were looking for, Ral Dare?
Yes, and close enough. I'm gonna take them, I guess.
So she slides it underneath sort of the compartment, and it's both of the books that you wanted. And during that exchange, another one flies in, and then kind of calls attention to you. Pitan, was it?
Piton, but you are close enough. Thank you.
That kind of slides it in, and it's this purplish book with like gold lettering on it, that has the title across it, but there is no author.
I'm gonna take it and giggle a little bit.
Speak up.
I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna giggle a little bit.
Okay. So what is the plan of action now that you have received the books that you wanted?
I suppose I'm just gonna. I'll hold them close, just because I'm sure I probably wouldn't know if she saw what I was writing or not. I still probably wouldn't want her to see.
So you're gonna try and hide the books. Go ahead and make another sleight of hand check. You're gonna try and keep them out of her view.
Out of her view, yeah.
Yeah. So make another one.
13.
Piton, just make a perception check for me. Unless you want to see, because you already know the names of the books, so if you want to see where he's hiding them, it's entirely up to you. Go ahead and make a roll if you want to. So where are you both headed afterwards? Though they disappear.
Hey, yes.
So yeah, what are the both of you doing?
I guess I'll look to her and I guess I'll say, well, I don't know about you, but I think I want to get back and I want to start reading.
So do I.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off the way we came.
Okay. Make a history check because you're still not super familiar with this place.
Okay, that's fine.
And Grafford, where were you leading Yizit? Total?
19.
Okay, yeah, you remember the way back to your housing unit.
Okay.
Leading us back to the housing unit.
Okay, so it's around this point that they were kind of just twiddling their thumbs. There was a little bit, time is wishy-washy. So Grafford, you direct Yizit to the housing unit, and you see that the doorknob is gone. But that's standard procedure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and open it, and then I'm gonna kind of get behind Yizit again and push him in.
Works for me.
So with this one, you don't know where you are technically because you can't see, and you kind of have to duck to get underneath this door. So you hit your head since you were not warned to duck.
Does it smell familiar?
It does smell familiar, but bonk.
Roll a
And
reflex save.
there are no reflex saves in this, unfortunately. That's just a dex save. And since this is a save that would require you to have sight, you're blind, you automatically fail.
True.
Could I have judged that distance at my angle?
Oh man, that was weird. That just messed up the layout.
I was gonna say, what just happened?
I don't know. I'll fix it though. It's not gonna be in the same order because I don't remember what order I put you guys in. So what did you ask, Grafford?
Would I have been able to judge the distance he'd have to duck, or if he'd even have to duck at my angle?
Yes, you
Wrote that
would,
down.
but you didn't say anything.
Yeah, I didn't say anything to check about it, so I just kind of pushed him in.
Yeah.
I was
Ruthless.
tired.
So you push him in, and it smells like the den. Use it. And then about 5 or 10 minutes later, Piton and Raldir make their way in as well.
Yeah, as soon as we get inside, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna look towards Yizit and I'm gonna say, you should go get some rest.
Yeah, I'll feel around for the door with the claw marks on it and go ahead inside.
Okay. So, as he kind of makes his way over to it, stumbling and feeling for the walls, kind of the door opens behind you, Grafford, and you see Raldir and Piton. Piton clutching a rather large purple and yellow book, and make a perception check to see if you can see where Raldir is holding his. Unless you wanted to drop them in your bag of holding. If you
I don't
have
a
one.
bag of holding,
Oh, no, you don't. That's right, you did decided against it.
Yeah, I'm the one that has it.
Okay.
Haha.
Nope. He doesn't seem to be carrying. He is holding. He has one of his arms out, but he's concealing his other arm with his cloak. But you don't think anything of it.
Nice.
And where have you two been? I say in my very weary state.
We were just at the library.
I got myself a book of familiars.
I'm glad you two are enjoying yourselves. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go rest.
Before you go, might I ask where our new reptile friend is?
He's off in his room, resting as well. We had a rough encounter. I'd
Really?
forgotten procedure.
Hmm.
Do I have visible arrows in me, like wood?
Yes.
As
And
you
dried
can see-
blood all over you.
As you can see, it's not very pleasant.
No.
Just see, shouldn't you get that checked out?
Sleep can do the trick.
Yeah, and I definitely would not want to wake up our reptile friend. He doesn't seem like he'd be a very peaceful person to wake up.
He's quite strong. He'll be up in no time.
Okay.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
Yes, go rest.
Which room did you take, by the way? I don't think that was ever stated.
I never decided on one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead to the opposite side of where they're rooming, and I'll take the first door.
There's only one door on the opposite side.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Wasn't that my room?
No, yours. Was that yours?
Yes, because I was opposite of Yizit's.
Oh yeah, you are opposite of Yizit's. That's right. That
Okay.
was Raldir's.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I probably wouldn't call him out on it, but
But you do have your thing, a couple of your things in there, don't you?
Yeah, no, I saw which one they went in, so I'll go in the one that hasn't been.
It's the first door
Taken.
on the right.
Okay, yeah, I'll go in it.
Okay, so
Stumbling.
there's
as
a
soon
white
as
mirror
you
woman.
as soon as you nice, as soon as you grab for the doorknob, all of the doors look exactly the same, but as soon as you touch it, the symbol of the Beholded Reserve, which is a lion's head with a single center eye, where the eyes should be, appears on it with this sort of gold gilding on the door. And as you open it up, you see your old office, back from the other housing unit, is now this room, equipped with your same desk, your same chair, and the same bookshelves on the left and right of this somewhat larger room, and then kind of extended back on the other side, a hammock.
Home. I'm
So-
gonna get on the hammock and go to bed.
Okay. What are the two of you doing with the rest of today after you've already? I assume just looking over your new books.
I was gonna say I'm probably gonna
Yes.
shut myself up in my room and read.
Okay.
He wants to get better at Dragon Chess.
Yeah.
I can be put on.
Okay, so it's at this point that we are going to be taking a 2-week time skip. That the players have already decided what they're going to be doing. So we're just going to be talking about a couple of things that happened during the time skip, and then after a very specific event, we are going to be going to our break. So we'll go one by one, starting with Baton.
Oh,
First, a quick question. Since Yizit is still blind, who is going to be helping him?
I will go ahead and do it.
I was gonna say, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't even know what's going on with Yizit. I never really asked about his
Yeah, but
state.
in 2 weeks you would have found
I
that
would have
out.
found out,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, if Grafford offers, then I'll just let him do it.
Okay.
And I will.
So, Patan, you read over your book and you learn about, over the course of these 2 weeks, just all the different options that are available to people who try and use the Find Familiar spell, and you learn about a lot of really famous ones. And something actually catches your eye, and one of the most famous familiars towards sort of the end of the book was actually a green pseudo dragon by the name Aegon. Make a history check. And then say the total.
19.
You recognize that it is the familiar of the former captain, Azufire. And you think, wow, he made it into this book. And as you turn over the last couple of pages, the last page is Sorrow Called Dawn, and it just says, Beholder. But there are more pages in this book. It's a rather thick book. It's almost like a dictionary, and only half of them are filled.
Oh. Guess the other pages are for other familiars we discovered.
So you've already predetermined which one you want, but you would need to get the materials for it.
Yes, can I get the materials within 2 weeks?
Yes, and you are check your brain. I'll call it your brain about how you go about getting those materials that you don't have. Meanwhile, Reldir, you immediately, as soon as that day kind of begins to come to a close, begin to flip through the pages of your book, learning and trying to figure out all these different strategies. You see some of the ones that you're already familiar with the 2-turn victory, and the one that has a special place of hatred in your heart, which is the hidden snake maneuver, which is to bait the enemy player into leaving their king exposed for an archer attack. The very move that made you lose your streak. And you begin to study them more and more and more and more. And that's going to be the forefront of what you're doing for those 2 weeks, is what you decided, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to you in a second. Grafford, and Yizit. What do you? We have to break this up into 2 parts because you're helping him. Just a little bit of information about how you're eating. The first day rolls around and you kind of go into the common area to one of the open tables. And Grafford, go ahead and do what you know you need to do to summon the materials to get your food.
For food.
Yeah, technically.
Containing items, right?
Yep, yes, that section.
I'm gonna go ahead and
There's parchment kind of sticking
Yeah.
out of the table from this little box.
go ahead and write down. And this is for food, correct?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you, is it, what do you like to eat?
As you all sit down for a family dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, everyone's here, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all at the
I'll
table.
go ahead and ask
Yes.
around.
Oh, nice wholesome family dinner. I guess surprise me. I don't. I have no preference.
Okay.
Ish.
All right. Katan, any preferences?
This still would be great.
Speak up.
Still would be great.
All right. Go ahead and write that down. Is it?
Goat. Bloody.
Okay. I'll go ahead and write down cooked goat rare.
Okay.
For me, I'll write down just some plain bread and a stew. And for raw deer, I'll write an egg with a man in it.
Oh, make a history check to know if you, because yeah, make a history check. You yourself have known. Grafford does not, but you do know that that's one of the strangest items
20.
that are. Okay, so the name of this food is Golem Crunch, with crystallizing sauce.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and write that down. Golem Crunch with crystallizing sauce.
And you sign it at the bottom, and you kind of, it begins to heat up, and you kind of let it go from your hand, and it begins to rise up slightly. And as it burns, it kind of gives off this sort of whitish blue light until that light kind of forms into a centralized ball. And then from that ball, 4 smaller balls begin to separate from it until it's into 4 pieces. And each of those spheres land kind of in front of you and then stretch into the basic shape of what was written on the page until it appears in front of you. The light fades, and each of what you've requested, the largest of which being a completely full goat that takes up about half of the table, is in front of Yizit, and then 2 simple bowls in front of Baton and Grafford, and then you, Raldir, see the egg holder with the very large egg, and a small little disc of sauce appears next to it. Make a history check.
Oh, jeez. That is a 21.
You recognize this dish.
At first I'm gonna kind of like I'm gonna, like squeeze like the bridge of my nose, just like.
Is that audible? Because if it is, I'll turn around and say, "What's wrong? It's a surprise. A lot of people like the dish. It's quite good."
Yeah, but let's just say back in the ruins, I had the pleasure of having this dish twice, and the first time I guess I forgot the sauce.
Well,
You know
exactly what
happens when you forget the sauce.
Is that an acquired taste, or?
I don't know. It seemed like the people who I was dining with, they found it quite funny that I couldn't stomach it. So I don't know. I
Oh.
guess I was just a fool for not.
You didn't have it
using the
before
sauce.
then.
No, that wasn't really something that I would have thought to try back home.
Well, at least you know how to eat it now.
Yeah,
I would have told you.
Well, that's I thank you for the sentiment.
Is it you smell prey in front of you?
Oh god.
No knives, no anything. I'm just gonna start tearing pieces off and kind of doing that choking swallow that alligators do. Just that hot, hot, hot.
Yeah. Kind of like lifting your head up as you take each bite to like let it slide down the maw.
Yeah.
If you clamp down onto a death roll, break the table.
Yeah, that's what
I'm gonna.
Jeez.
I'm
Oh,
probably
and
gonna eat my head.
I do remember there were some pretty specific ways about eating this.
Okay.
So I'm going to crack the top of the egg with a spoon. I'm gonna like take the top off, you know. I'm
Yeah.
guessing there's the little man inside.
Curled up in the fetal position.
Oh Lord. I'm kind of like look away from it. I'm gonna pour the sauce into the egg, like into the top
Okay.
bowl.
So you're doing it while looking away?
You know, I'm gonna just like keep my eyes off of the man, but I'm gonna keep my eyes like at such a level with the egg that I don't see the man inside.
Okay, so you pour it in, and you put it. You get all of the sauce inside of it. Do you look in after that?
I'm going to wearily look in.
So you see almost a Han in Kryptonite style freeze frame of the hands being up and like crystallized in this yellow crystal, sort of in this like ovuloid shape of the underside of the bottom of the egg as it filled up from the bottom first.
As the liquid pours in, he does the Terminator thumbs up and sinks in.
But yeah, I guess well, I've eaten this before, so I'm gonna just gonna bare my teeth and I'm gonna start eating this boy.
It has no flavor.
That's a shame.
The goat also tastes like nothing. It smells like goat, but the goat doesn't taste like goat. You try the stew, you try the bread, it is bland and flavorless.
Oh,
I want Grafford. Who is proficient with Arcana?
I
probably me.
Yeah, I am.
I know.
Everybody who is proficient with Arcana, make an Arcana check.
Cool. All right, well that is a 24.
Okay, so you know why it doesn't taste like anything.
That is a 12.
You don't. Are you not proficient with Arcana, Grafford?
I'm not.
Okay, so Raldir, you know that this food was created by Create Food and Water spell. So it's bland and flavorless. It fills you up, but there is no taste.
You know, I'm just generally just kind of like still looking down, kind of eating. This is quite some impressive magic they have in this place, I must say.
Maybe we should start cooking.
Maybe. If you want a more flavorful meal, I suppose.
That's why I asked you what your favorite dishes were. Maybe the smell could have tricked you a bit.
It's no problem. It's more interesting than anything, I suppose.
Unperturbed. There is nothing left. Unless, since you're blind and you can't see, you kind of eat the whole goat and don't get a chance to preserve the bones. Like, you spit out what you can, but it's just kind of the parts that get stuck in the teeth, because of the way that you're eating it, is it?
That's fine.
You
I'll take any of the bones that I can get and just kind of slink back to my room. Well, in whatever manner a giant alligator can slink, anyway.
Yeah. You slide on your belly like a snake all the way through. So yeah, you make your way back over, and that's where we're gonna be doing our time skip. And now that there's a little bit of that lore information about how they're getting their food every day. So
everybody continues on with their. We left off at Grafford and Yizit, but we're gonna go back to Raldir. There's a loud knock at the door. On the 9th day of this 2-week break.
Okay, I suppose I'll just open it and see who it is.
Not your door, the main door.
Oh. Okay, well, I mean, I'd still probably open it and see who it is.
Everybody has the chance to open it if they want. The first person to be able to get there would be Grafford because of the room that he's in.
Which I
I will
probably would.
watch.
You know, yeah, Grafford probably would do it. Okay, well, that's okay. I'll still probably walk out hearing the visitor anyway.
I will watch.
Do you
from
care,
my-
is it?
Is it the 9th day?
The 9th day, your sight has been returned to you.
Am I there?
You're in your room.
Okay. I'll kind of creak it open and just look.
As much as you can creak your head, your giant alligator head. So on you kind of have to duck down as you see Yizit's large
Baton.
head. Sorry, I said Ana, didn't I? A slip of the tongue. Baton. Rest in peace, Ana.
Oh, yeah.
No depresso espresso yet.
So you kind of have to duck down to like look underneath, just at the because how tall he is. It's kind of and the size of his head. Since his eyes are on the side of his head, he has to like put his whole head out and then look to the side. And you go to the door first, Grafford, and you open it up, and it's one of the metallic humanoids. And it's holding a letter, and he hands it to you.
Mhm.
And he immediately turns around and walks away.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see here.
So you begin to
I'm
look
gonna
over
look at the paper.
you look over the letter, and it has the official seal, not of the Holded Reserve, but Sorrow Called On. And all it has written on it, on the large side, the side where it isn't sealed on, of the envelope is Raldir.
I'm gonna look back.
And as you turn around to like walk back into the room, Raldir is already standing there walking out of the hallway.
Perfect timing. Here you go. This came in for you. It's from Sorrow.
Okay, I'm guessing he wants to see me then.
I'm not sure. Just go ahead and look it over. I'll hold it out to him. Holding it up.
So what's the gist of this letter?
Oh, you're gonna open it up, like right
Yeah.
there.
You know what? Yeah, I trust Grafford. I'm gonna open it up.
You were gonna say something, Patan?
Start off with Grafford first. Oh god.
Okay. So Raldir, you open it up, and as soon as you kind of undo the red wax seal, and it opens up, and there's no parchment on the inside, but as soon as you open it, a sort of floating disembodied head of Sorrow Called Dawn, kind of slightly transparent, appears. You don't need to make an Arcana check to know that this is some sort of programmed illusion. You're not sure of what nature it is, but I'm kind of just basing it off of the 24 you threw earlier.
Yeah.
So you know that this is some sort of programmed illusion to go off as soon as it's opened.
Cool.
And as soon as you opened up, the physicality of the envelope kind of just erodes into this sort of fine white mist that disperses almost immediately. Raldir, you are summoned to my office. And then it's gone. And then it comes back.
Oh.
Bring your thunder cannon.
Okay, right to the point.
It's not loud enough that the people in the hallway can hear it, but you do hear it, Grafford. So, what's everybody doing?
Well, I'm probably just gonna collect all my things. It's like my bag and my gun, because I'm sure he probably would want to see me soon.
You'll leave immediately?
Yeah, I'll get my stuff and I'll say, yeah, that's probably I should probably go now.
Yes. There's no time to waste. He's quite a busy man.
Yes.
Don't
But
keep
yeah.
him waiting.
Oh, believe me, I won't.
And that's where we're going to take our break.
I'm his biggest fan.
When you're not able to say what you wanted to say.
So, we're going to take the break right as you're getting everything ready to leave, as you walk back into your room. And that's going to be the end of part 1 of episode 9 of our Orizon series. Go ahead and hit the info card up in the top right to be taken to part 2. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching on Twitch, feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll be here to answer any, and just taking our break. So, for those of you on YouTube, we'll see you in part 2.
Yeah, click that info button.
Yeah.